On this particular spring day, while our main character, Tomoya, is riding his bike, he sees a female beret fly above him and land a few feet away from him. He goes after it, picks it up, and looks in the direction it came from. That's when he spots her, a beautiful girl who makes him feel as if he has come face to face with his destiny. The following week, Tomoya, who appears to be an otaku based on the decorations in his room, prepares to start his newspaper delivery job. The dude he delivers to comments on Tomoya's new newspaper delivery gig and asks what happened to his other job. Tomoya informs him that he still works at the video store and the restaurant. The man compliments Tomoya for being such a hard worker and asks how he manages to balance all his work with school. Tomoya replies that he has set himself a new goal to pursue, which will serve as his motivation. As Tomoya leaves, the man wonders what Tomoya is hooked on this time. At school, Ariri checks the class she has been assigned to when a few girls approach her, and she greets them cheerfully. While they are chatting, Utaha walks by, catching Ariri's attention. She does not look pleased to see Utaha. The other girls notice her expression and call her attention, prompting Ariri to quickly switch back to her bubbly mood. Meanwhile, in class, Tomoya is approached by a boy named Yoshihiko, who is thrilled to be in the same class as Tomoya again. Tomoya tells Yoshihiko that he is busy and does not want to be disturbed, but Yoshihiko keeps talking and asks if he is reviewing an anime. Tomoya explains that he finishes anime reviews within 24 hours of the finale airing. Dude is an OG otaku. He also shares with Yoshihiko that it is his life's mission to post useful, spoiler-sorted news for anyone to see and enjoy. While he is still talking, Yoshihiko gets distracted by Ariri outside the window. Tomoya wonders why the guy would ask him stuff and proceed to get distracted until he hears it's Ariri. Ariri is a half-Japanese wealthy daughter of an English diplomat, and she is the top student in the art club, having been accepted into a big-shot art exhibition after enrolling in the school. Yoshihiko excitedly talks about Ariri, but Tomoya does not see the hype. To him, 3D girls are not worth fawning over. Yoshihiko points out Ariri's attractive features, claiming she ticks every box on the ideal 2D girl checklist. Tomoya calls him an idiot and adds that 3D girls are just too much trouble. Looks like someone has had his heart broken. Later, as the students head to the opening ceremony, Tomoya excuses himself, telling Yoshihiko that he'll catch up later. Meanwhile, Ariri, in a lonely hallway, makes sure no one is watching before she opens a locker and pulls out a comic book, visibly excited. She is surprised to hear Tomoya's voice scolding her for not ordering the book earlier and resorting to stealing his copy. Ariri reminds him that she told him not to talk to her at school. When she asks why he is in her class block, Tomoya replies, asking how she knew which class he was in when the class assignments were just posted today. This causes Ariri to become embarrassed and attempt to leave. Tomoya calls out to her saying he has something to discuss. Despite her reluctance, Ariri decides to listen. Tomoya shows her a dating sim idea he wants them to create together. Ariri dismisses the idea, calling it outright pathetic. Tomoya describes the spring incident to her, claiming it felt like a divine revelation, and it was just like something out of a girl's manga, a romance anime, a moe light novel, or even a dating sim prologue. However, Ariri remains uninterested. He continues trying to convince her, but she refuses to help, arguing that the game is based on his encounter with a girl. Tomoya explains that when he saw her, game dialogue, visuals, and music flooded his mind, and he realized the only way to depict the story is through a game. Ariri does not look pleased with this and suggests that he find the girl and confess his feelings instead. Tomoya refuses. After all, why would he risk some 3D girl? Frustrated, Ariri questions why he wants to drag her into his delulu, to which he responds that she is one of the best illustrators he knows, an innocent student by day and an erotic comic writer by night. This embarrasses Ariri, and she starts hitting him with her pigtails, warning him not to say such things on school grounds. After she stops, Tomoya reminds her of a promise she made back in elementary school to work for him when he starts a game company. Ariri begins hitting him again. Sis has a lot of embarrassing memories. She tells him to draw the illustrations himself, but he argues that he would not be able to capture the girl's beauty like she could. Raising two 3D girls in one sentence? I should be taking notes. However, Ariri is not pleased, and while he is still blabbing, she tears up his proposal and crumples it, telling him that his way of thinking is warped and that he just wants to profit from her efforts without putting in the necessary work. Tomoya disagrees with Ariri, insisting that he has drive and passion. Ariri believes it's a waste of time since he lacks a good storyline and tries to walk away, but Tomoya asks her to give him a chance and to listen to what he has to say. He requests that she meet him in the AV room after school. Later, at the opening ceremony, Yoshihiko notices Tomoya's sad mood and assumes he got rejected on the first day of school. Tomoya denies this, saying it's just a temporary setback. While he is still talking, an A student named Utaha is called up for an award, causing Yoshihiko's attention to shift to her and leaving Tomoya on read. Utaha is the smartest girl in school, but also a sleepyhead. Yoshihiko comments that Ariri and Utaha are the top two beauties at their academy, and mentions that he finds it odd that he never sees them with any guy, despite how sought after they are. This causes Tomoya to blush. That's sus. After the ceremony, Tomoya heads to the rooftop, where he finds Utaha reading. He hands her lunch and asks if he can join her. Turns out, Bro knows the two hot chicks in school. Utaha kicks him playfully, and he gets the hint, unwrapping the snacks for her. After eating, Utaha asks what he wants, knowing he likely has a reason for approaching her after so long. Tomoya then proposes his game idea and asks her to join his team as the writer. Utaha dismisses the idea, tossing it aside. She then goes ahead to diss him and his terrible, confused mess of an idea before trying to leave. Despite all the insults that seem to break Tomoya's spirit, he pleads for a chance, reminding her that he has always wanted to create a game to get closer to the creators he admires. He even mentions her past success with her series that sold over 500,000 copies, which kind of feels like a form of blackmail. However, Utaha is not fazed and tells him that because of that, he should know that she is busy. Tomoya congratulates her on starting a new series, to which she responds with a simple thanks. As she starts to leave, he calls out to her again, asking her to give him a chance to discuss his idea and to meet him in the AV room after school. After school, Tomoya surprisingly finishes a detailed proposal and storyline for his game and rushes to the AV room. On his way there, a classmate, Megumi, calls out to him. When he does not respond, she follows him, saying that a teacher wants to see him. Tomoya tells her he is busy and asks her to inform the teacher that he will carry out the task early the following day. Before he leaves, Megumi thanks him for something that happened earlier. Confused, Tomoya asks her what she's referring to, and she tells him it's about the beret incident. Tomoya does not think it through and tells her that he does not recall anything like that. But as Megumi turns to leave, memories of that spring day suddenly come back to him, hitting him like a swung pan. Meanwhile, in front of the AV room, Ariri takes a deep breath before entering. As she steps in, she immediately states that she didn't come because she plans to get on board. Rather, she only came to hear him out to avoid feeling guilty for leaving him alone. But unknown to her, only Utaha is there. And when Utaha responds and mocks her, Ariri is both shocked and flushed. Now fully in the room, Ariri asks what Utaha is doing there. Utaha counters with her own question. They realize that Tomoya had asked both of them to meet him, but due to their rivalry, they start exchanging insults. Ariri insists that she is there only to stop Tomoya from pursuing his crazy project, as it has no hope of working out. But Utaha points out that she could have prevented him from going forward by simply not showing up, leaving Ariri speechless. Ariri decides to leave and asks Utaha if she plans to stay and support Tomoya's nonsense, but Utaha coldly replies that it is none of her business. Meanwhile, Tomoya chases after Megumi to stop her. He is out of breath and struggles to speak, while Megumi comments that they are in the same class again and wishes they have a good year. But Tomoya does not remember her well and even gets her name wrong. Tomoya and Megumi go to a cafe to sit and talk. He compliments her beauty, saying that he hasn't really noticed it until now. Megumi, despite thanking him, points out that what he didn't notice was not just her cuteness, but that she even existed at all. Unable to talk his way out of this one, Tomoya admits the truth. As the waitress arrives with the menu, Tomoya finds himself lost in thought, contemplating Megumi's features and characteristics. He realizes that she is indeed pretty and has a nice figure, but he can't shake the feeling that she possesses an incomprehensible lack of presence. The happenings behind her catches attention far more than she does. After their meal is served, Tomoya apologizes for asking her out and taking up her time, but Megumi reassures him that it's fine since she didn't have any plans. Tomoya then asks about the hat she was wearing that day, and Megumi responds that she gave it as a souvenir to her cousin, who visited and developed a liking for it. Tomoya cannot believe what he is hearing. To him, that hat was a huge part of their initial encounter, but it didn't mean anything to her. When Megumi hears him mumbling and asks what it is, he lies, claiming he was just saying that it was such a coincidence that they ran into each other. Megumi tells him that it's only a coincidence if he knew that she existed. Knowing she won't let this go easily, Tomoya tries to downplay his existence, saying that she wouldn't remember an unremarkable otaku like him. Megumi disagrees with this, saying that he is an otaku but definitely not unremarkable. Tomoya tries to argue that nothing about him stands out, but Megumi reminds him that he is one of their school's top 3 celebrities. He is quite well known. Tomoya doesn't believe this, so Megumi points out all the fun anime-related activities he brought to their school, adding that there isn't a single student who doesn't know his name. Tomoya is still in denial. He knows otakus are not openly accepted, and society still treats them with disdain, but Megumi clarifies that she wasn't talking about otakus in general. She adds that she considers herself the opposite of him, completely plain. Tomoya is like, "Let me stop you right there, miss." Megumi then goes ahead to explain why she thinks so, but Tomoya's attention keeps drifting to the table behind her, and even while she is talking, she still seems like a background character. After she finishes, Tomoya, being overly dramatic, tells her that she is not plain at all, stating that she is anything but plain. Megumi is almost touched until he adds that her character is just dead, calling her an unfinished product. At this point, all eyes in the cafe are on them. Megumi interrupts, questioning if that's not worse than just being plain, to which Tomoya agrees and warns her not to underestimate plain characters. Bro woke up and chose violence. Tomoya continues to rant about Megumi's lack of individuality and how it needs to be refined, while Megumi stares at him in disbelief. When she asks why it bothers him so much, he reveals that she is supposed to be his main heroine. She almost misinterprets this as a love confession, but Tomoya basically tells her, "Don't delude yourself." Megumi points out that she noticed him glancing away even while they were talking, but Tomoya chooses not to respond and instead tells her to give him back his creative urge. Suddenly, Megumi changes the topic, asking if he's dating the two most beautiful girls in school. Tomoya quickly points out the flaws in her assumption, saying that he is only interested in 2D girls. Megumi then asks why the people outside the window are staring at them with murderous intent. Tomoya turns to find Ariri and Utaha watching him angrily. When the two girls join them, Megumi comments that she feels out of place being in the midst of the top 3 celebrities. Tomoya tells her not to worry, saying that although the girls might seem standoffish, they are not so bad and are also otakus. He introduces the girls to Megumi, explaining that Ariri is his illustrator and Utaha is his scenario writer for their game creation circle. Immediately, Utaha steps on him while scolding Tomoya for standing them up and going out on a date with another girl. Tomoya, in pain, introduces Megumi to them as the main heroine of their upcoming game. Ariri immediately shoots death glares at Megumi, and Tomoya tries to cover up for her by claiming it's because she is nearsighted. Ariri starts saying mean things to Megumi, and Tomoya tells Megumi not to take it to heart, as Ariri behaves this way in reality while acting all innocent in school. This causes Ariri to kick him to shut up, saying that he should not talk about her as if he knows her well, as they are merely long-time acquaintances and nothing more. While Ariri is still kicking him, Utaha makes an annoying comment about her, which causes Ariri to kick her too, resulting in both of them kicking each other and exchanging death glares. Tomoya tries to stop them as they're causing a scene. After Tomoya presents his game plan, the others crumple the paper again, calling it trash and saying it's no good. Tomoya feels downcast at this point. Ariri tells him that at this rate, actually creating a game will remain nothing more than a dream for him. Utaha then questions whether he will rewrite it or give up, but Tomoya is determined not to quit and vows to rewrite it as many times as necessary to gain their approval. He promises to create the ultimate dating sim that will make everyone's heart sing. As their discussion continues, Megumi quietly slips away unnoticed. They only realize she's gone when Tomoya mentions turning Megumi into a main heroine who will melt everyone's heart, pointing to her empty seat. When they see her by the counter, Tomoya remarks that her stealth level is way too high. The next day, Megumi meets up with Tomoya at the place where they encountered each other that spring day. While she is talking, Tomoya checks her out but is disappointed with the way she is dressed. He asks her if she remembers what is special about that place and why he chose to meet her there, but she doesn't remember and assumes it's simply because it's closer to his house. Tomoya is frustrated and reminds her that it's where they first met. Megumi calmly corrects him, saying that they originally first met at the entrance ceremony a year ago, leaving him speechless. They begin walking to Tomoya's house, and along the way, he asks if she knows what they plan to achieve. When she replies that he invited her over to discuss something, Tomoya scolds her for agreeing to visit a guy's house that she barely knows and criticizes her outfit as well. He finds it surprising because no one has ever visited his home looking that normal. Megumi explains that she agreed because she thought it was unexpected, to which he scolds her again, telling her that just because a guy is an otaku doesn't mean she can visit his house without a second thought. He adds that she has been living her life carelessly and he plans to give her a lesson on reality. They soon arrive at his house, and Megumi comments that his room looks like that of a true otaku. Tomoya then scolds Megumi for not behaving in the way he had imagined and not acting like a true heroine. Megumi doesn't care, and Tomoya believes she will be able to show proper reactions soon after their bootcamp that day. He ends up making her play a series of dating sims, but she doesn't perform well, much to his disappointment. Tomoya eventually gives her a break and lectures her about dating sims, explaining that the heroines aren't just automatons that react the same way when pressed in certain areas. They need to be human beings with an appeal that real girls lack. Megumi responds that if they were, then they would sometimes have to break up with him. Tomoya refuses to think that way. He cannot imagine a 2D girl breaking his heart, wondering what he would have left to live for if that ever happened. She continues playing, with Tomoya feeding her spoilers and also getting all emotional along the way. When the game finally ends, Tomoya asks for her review, and he is satisfied with her response. He tells her that the heroine in the game is the type he wants to mold her into. He gives her another lecture about her ignorance, during which he ends up lecturing himself. Tomoya remembers what Ariri and Utaha told him about not being able to envision what he really wants to make, and realizes that the person who didn't understand was him all along. Megumi decides to take her leave, but Tomoya stops her. He tells her that the game has a sequel and promises not to spoil it, asking her to watch it. Megumi is worried that if she starts before the game ends, it will be midnight by the time she finishes. Tomoya assures her that his parents are away on a trip and that it's not a school night. Despite all this, Megumi insists on leaving, and Tomoya has to beg her to stay the night. Seeing as he is desperate, she has no choice but to accept. Tomoya then asks if she isn't worried he might do something to her, but Megumi is certain that all they would do is play games until morning. Ouch. He finds it surprising, as it's the first time he has seen a 3D girl display such an irresponsible and carefree attitude. But since he's not one to talk, he lets it go and they begin the game together. A few days later, Megumi and Tomoya are on a call where she asks about his game plan. Tomoya replies that he is still waiting for the others to give their go-ahead. She asks him when the next deadline is, and he tells her it's the end of Golden Week, which is his last chance. Megumi encourages him, telling him that he can do it since they have the next few days off from school. Tomoya agrees, saying that the days may be few but the hours are many and he just needs to focus all his attention on the game. He suggests they have another sleepover session, telling her to come for a meeting because they need to win Ariri and Utaha over no matter what it takes, so they can create their ultimate dating sim. However, he is shocked by Megumi's response when she tells him that she is on a family vacation. Tomoya asks how long she will be away, and she replies that it will be until the end of Golden Week. Realizing he is on his own, with only 4 days until the deadline, Tomoya decides to eliminate all distractions, including his video games and light novels. But almost immediately, he finds himself returning to his light novels and decides to read just one before the final push. One novel turns into 3, then 3 turn into 5, and Tomoya eventually ends up reading many. Soon, he falls asleep. After a few hours, he wakes up and decides to get some water. A voice tells him to bring them cola while he's at it, and Tomoya agrees without giving it a thought and heads to the kitchen. While preparing the drinks, he reflects on how the day has gone by without him achieving anything, reassuring himself that he still has 3 days left, so he should be fine. Should we tell him? But then it hits him, and he rushes back to his room. To his surprise, he sees Ariri sketching and asks what she is doing there, claiming that her letting herself in has screwed his schedule. Yes, that's right. Blame someone else for your failure. Ariri responds that she has no choice as nobody else was going to let her in, even though she rang the doorbell. Tomoya points out that she hasn't been to his house in the past few years, and in her defense, it's because they haven't spoken to each other at all during that time. After having his drink and handing hers to her, Tomoya asks Ariri again what she is doing at his house. Ariri explains that she is working on her draft for an event that weekend. When Tomoya sees the sketches, he scolds her for bringing such stuff to a guy's house. It's giving moral police. Ariri yells back that she didn't have a choice, as she has monthly deadlines and couldn't stay in her house because her dad was hosting a garden party, and she couldn't stay in her room either because she would have to keep up her pretty appearance, but here she could look like a loser in peace. After they bicker, they each return to their work. I bet Tomoya is pretending to get some work done. When Ariri asks him about his progress, bro hasn't made any, talking about, I have 3 more days left, loyal eh? Ariri catches on to his BS and says that when creators use the number of days they have left as an excuse, it always means they are behind schedule. She then suggests he give up, as he doesn't have it in him to create games, but Tomoya refuses. He reminds her that back in the day, they were just as bad as each other, but now, she has become a member of a popular circle. If she can do it, he can too. He then promises to be a big shot creator that she won't be able to measure up to. Ariri lets him have his way and says she won't worry about him anymore. Tomoya realizes that she had come over to motivate him because she was worried about him, but Ariri denies it as if her life depended on it. In the middle of their conversation, the doorbell rings. Ariri checks through the window and is not pleased by who she sees. Tomoya then invites his visitor in. It's Utaha. As she steps in, she comments on how much tidier his room is than she expected. Tomoya quickly hides all evidence of Ariri while Utaha is distracted. He questions why she is there since it's her first time visiting his house. Utaha starts rizzing the dude and even goes super close to him, making the poor guy nervous. After her teasing, she reveals that she came to treat him to some snacks. While snacking, Utaha asks about the game plan, and he honestly tells her that things aren't going well. Utaha advises him that he doesn't have to pursue the life of a creator, and suggests returning to his previous daily routine as a consumer pig, saying that the creator lifestyle is too painful for him. Tomoya stands firm and declares he is ready to take the risk. Utaha begins to explain that the life of a creator might seem all wine and roses, but in reality, it's quite challenging. She becomes more and more upset while explaining the cons to him until she eventually calms down. Their conversation continues and Utaha soon has to take her leave. Before she walks out, Utaha advises that if he is serious about forming a circle and creating a game, then he should get all his circle members involved and should get them to want to do their best, because without them, he will never put out a quality product no matter how hard he tries. He also won't be able to keep himself motivated either. This makes a lot of sense to Tomoya. Utaha leaves but quickly returns to tell Tomoya that they should have hidden the bicycle as well. After she leaves for real this time, Ariri comes out from the closet, embarrassed that Utaha knew she was there all along. She immediately hops on her bike and rides home. Later that night, Tomoya gets on a call with Megumi, and she asks how he is doing with the deadline. Fueled by Utaha's earlier advice, he tells her not to worry about him and to focus on enjoying herself. Before they get off the call, Megumi asks what about her appeal to him, that he decided to choose her as his heroine. Tomoya tells her that everything with her is fun, and when she asks if there is anything he needs her to work on, he suggests she should be more overbearing, but not mean-spirited like the other two girls. The next day, Tomoya attempts to lock in, but ends up wasting the day reading light novels and browsing the internet. He eventually falls asleep, and when he wakes up, it's already night. The next day, Tomoya decides to lock in for real and seals away his light novels, but ends up doing nothing again. As evening approaches, Tomoya realizes announces that he is cooked and starts to panic. The following morning, Tomoya decides to revisit the place where he first had the dating sim idea, hoping to get some inspiration, but it doesn't help. Just as he begins to lose hope, a girl in a dress walks toward him and throws her beret in his direction, followed by scattering flower petals. The scene unfolds just like it did on that particular spring day. Megumi greets him warmly, just like a typical heroine. She gracefully walks to her hat and picks it up. Tomoya is confused about this whole scenario, and Megumi then places it on Tomoya's head, calling his name affectionately. She questions whether this is how he expects her to act, and if she is acting and speaking like his typical 2D girl. Tomoya is speechless, and when he finally regains his composure, he asks if she isn't supposed to be on a vacation. Megumi responds that she came back a little early, and it turns out that during their phone call, she was actually heading home. Tomoya feels uncomfortable that she left her family vacation to help him with his dating sim. In her defense, Megumi thought he would hold it against her forever if she didn't help out. Still upset, Tomoya questions why she didn't visit him once she had returned. Megumi explains that she wouldn't have been useful right away. She needed to learn a few things from Utaha and Ariri first. She tells him that Ariri designed her outfit while Utaha scripted and guided her manner of speech and performance despite being very strict. Megumi adds that she enjoyed every step of the process and feels that they would all get along fine as circle members. Tomoya is surprised that Megumi is willing to join his circle. She tells him that, despite not having a clue about what his aim is, she's willing to give it a shot and help make his dream come true. Before she takes her leave, Megumi encourages Tomoya once more, making him feel highly motivated, and he promises to make her into a main heroine who will tug at everyone's heartstrings. Tomoya informs her that they need to hold a meeting immediately. Seeing her like this has raised something in him. No, not what you think, you perv. It's his spirit. He is determined to go all out and make his dream a reality. With that motivation, he starts dragging Megumi to his house despite her worries that it's a school night, assuring her that he will let her go early. Meanwhile, Utaha and Ariri watch from the shadows. Ariri feels upset that it's not her in that position with Tomoya. When Utaha notices this, she tells Ariri that if she knew she would be bothered by Tomoya and Megumi spending time together, she shouldn't have helped Megumi out. Ariri pretends not to understand what Utaha is talking about. As Megumi turns and waves at them, Ariri makes a silly face. Days later, Utaha is on a call with her employer, who inquires about the script she is working on. They also discuss her exclusive interview scheduled for the following day, during which Utaha will announce her new series. However, Utaha doesn't like this at all, saying that her job is to write, not to speak in front of people. The editor tells her that she has prepared something Utaha would like. When she reveals it, Utaha is so shocked that she accidentally stubs her toe on the table's leg. Later, on the way back from school, Megumi and Tomoya discuss a light novel that Tomoya recommended to her. Tomoya is surprised to hear that she finished the entire series and asks for a review. Megumi gives him a positive one, which excites him, and he promises to buy more for her. Megumi finds it surprising that the author of the book is Utaha, as Utaha's behavior in school doesn't seem typical for someone who writes romance novels. Tomoya goes on to excitedly praise Utaha, claiming that she is like a god to him. He adds that he can't wait for her new series to be released, especially since it also has an anime adaptation. Megumi asks him a few questions about the book, and Tomoya promises to ask Utaha about it, as today is the day he gets to ask her about whatever he wants. It turns out that Tomoya is Utaha's interviewer. Utaha is shocked by this arrangement, and Tomoya informs her that the assistant editor contacted him last week through his website with a job offer for the interview. The assistant editor, who is in the room as well, explains that since Utaha is shy, uncooperative, and short-tempered around strangers, she decided to bring Tomoya, with whom Utaha is more comfortable. Not pleased with this arrangement, Utaha decides to leave, but Tomoya pleads with her, expressing his excitement about getting the chance to learn about her new series before anyone else. He insists he couldn't turn down the opportunity. Finally, Utaha agrees to go through with the interview, but she doesn't really answer Tomoya's question and shows little interest. Eventually, she decides to take a nap, saying she had to pull an all-nighter the previous night to work. Tomoya decides to get some snacks to motivate her, and after that, Utaha starts giving him vague answers to his interview questions, so he has to fill in some gaps to make the conversation more interesting. Tomoya praises her for having such huge sales of her book, to which Utaha replies that it was thanks to him. The assistant editor confirms this, saying that their sales were low until Tomoya featured them on his site. Tomoya is flustered but quickly covers it up by blaming the publishers for their lack of effort, and the ladies agree. Tomoya airs out his frustration about not being able to include any of what she has told him in the interview so far. Later, all three of them fall asleep after enjoying the snacks. Tomoya wakes up first and comments that, despite how long they have been there, the interview has very little content. Utaha explains that this is because he is trying to get only inoffensive comments from her. Tomoya then suggests they wrap up the interview with one honest answer from her, asking her to tell the readers what she hopes to accomplish with her next series. Utaha begins to explain, this time giving a more reasonable answer. She thanks her readers for sticking with her and giving her a chance, and promises to repay their kindness by putting in the same effort into her upcoming projects, mentioning that she will add more spirit to her work. Tomoya is shocked by how well she is doing and feels satisfied with her answer. He tells her it was great, and since he hasn't noticed, Utaha points out that she used the plural form upcoming projects, implying she has decided to join his dating sim circle. Tomoya is really excited and takes Utaha's hand, promising to do his best and not disappoint her. The assistant wakes up to see this scene and teases them about it. Tomoya asks how long she has been awake, pointing out that it is quite late to still be at work, but the assistant editor explains that this is when their editing department usually gets busy. The following day after school, Ariri goes to the AV room. Immediately she enters, she repeats her previous behavior, saying that her presence doesn't mean she has decided to join, she's just there to help out a bit, knowing that Tomoya can't manage everything by himself. Utaha tells Ariri that if she has the time to come just to flaunt her appeal as a tsundere character, then she should simply join them already. Ariri is upset to see that Utaha is there before her and demands to know why Utaha accepted to join the circle before she did. Utaha tells her that last weekend she was personally approached by Tomoya, so she didn't have a choice. Ariri then asks Tomoya why she herself was not courted, causing Tomoya to ask his senpai Utaha not to create any misunderstandings. Utaha adds that Ariri is the type who won't rest until she's the top dog in everything, and such a person is considered to be an unsuitable lover. This pisses Ariri off, and she takes out her anger on Tomoya. Once they are all calm, Tomoya draws up a production schedule for the dating sim. However, this is not favorable for the two girls, considering that they are also handling other projects, so they try to revise it and end up arguing and pushing at each other. After they are done violating each other, Tomoya tells the two of them to just focus on the plot outline and character designs for now, and they both agree. Once that issue is settled, the two girls start working, and Tomoya asks what his role should be. The girls suggest he should go buy them some snacks. Tomoya refuses at first, saying he is supposed to be the producer, representative, and director of the circle, so the girls tell him to take over their work since he is so eager to contribute. Faced with these options, Tomoya ultimately decides to choose the easier route and rushes off to get them snacks. Utaha calls Tomoya back, saying she has a more useful task for him, fundraising. Since creating the game will require a lot of money that they don't have, Utaha asks Tomoya to raise the funds. Bro doesn't know where he would get such a huge amount from to cover everything and starts freaking out. The two girls then boast about how much they each earn from their jobs. Feeling overwhelmed, Tomoya curls up and doesn't know what to do. Utaha offers to give him the money if he wants, but on the condition that he does her a little favor, winking at him. Ariri, feeling jealous, violently separates them and starts hitting Tomoya with her hair. After giving him a good whack, she turns to argue with Utaha. Seeing that this conversation is leading nowhere and could escalate into more conflict, Tomoya intervenes and stops them. He tells them he will come up with a solution for the game's costs and asks them to give their best effort in return. The two girls agree, and then Megumi, who had been there all along, asks what she should be doing, surprising the trio, who didn't notice her presence. Tomoya simply tells her to act more like the main heroine. The next day, Tomoya wakes up and starts sourcing for funds by taking on various part-time jobs. He first delivers newspapers, then joins a moving company. These jobs make him tired, but he has a goal in mind and will not back down. He takes on a few more jobs, and while working at a restaurant, he sees Megumi walk in with a guy. Tomoya is shocked and tells her that she can't do that. The next day, he confronts her about it, and Megumi explains that the guy is her cousin, whose family is visiting. Since their parents went out, she decided to take him out to eat. This explanation doesn't ease Tomoya's worries. He insists that she is supposed to stand out, but shouldn't act in a bad way, as she is his heroine. Bro crashes out badly, drawing the attention of their classmates. Tomoya tells her that a heroine who exists solely for the players of her game would never do such a thing and would never abandon her protagonist for some other dude. Megumi clarifies that the guy is just her cousin, but Tomoya insists that this makes it worse. He comes up with a whole scenario about cousins to lovers. Where does Bro get all these crazy ideas from? Finally, he begs her not to see her cousin anymore until they finish the game. However, Megumi tells him that it would be impossible because they have plans to go out together this weekend. This information causes Tomoya to crash out once again. Their circle activities finally begin. Ariri asks Megumi to make a few facial expressions so she can draw them, but for Megumi, this is a new concept, since she is usually expressionless. Ariri goes as far as showing her the faces to make, but Megumi struggles to recreate them. Meanwhile, Tomoya serves the girls some snacks. He's their official busboy. When he serves Utaha, he notices that she seems a bit out of sorts and keeps typing the same word on her computer. The word says, "Feed me," and when Tomoya tries to help, she almost bites off his fingers. She has become a monster. That's what writing does to people, guys. She keeps requesting more food, and Tomoya complies, only to hear a pencil snap. It's Ariri who broke her pencil out of jealousy, and then asks Tomoya to fetch her another one. After their snack, Ariri resumes requesting expressions from Megumi, but Megumi still can't do it. Frustrated, Ariri doesn't know what to do with her. Megumi then decides to go do some self-study and walks off practicing, but she just sounds like a malfunctioning robot. Even Tomoya is shocked at this. He tries to comfort Ariri, who is having a hard time, and they begin to discuss discuss Megumi's character flaws. Knowing that there isn't much time left for character design, Ariri suggests they meet at his house over the weekend to work their butts off. Unfortunately, Tomoya has other plans. He then asks Ariri if she has ever been on a date, which causes her to tear her sketchbook while Utaha drops her laptop and starts typing in the air. Ariri assumes Tomoya is asking her out, but he quickly clarifies that he is not. Instead, tells her it's just a hypothetical scenario and asks what she would do if a girl roped her into going to a shopping mall to look at clothes and stuff with her. Tomoya explains that he's trying to understand what Ariri would do in that situation. After taking some time to think, Ariri offers a few tips on how to handle the hypothetical date, advising him to smile and fake it even if he doesn't understand what the other person is talking about, while cautioning him not to do too much. Tomoya finds her suggestions a bit boring, saying that if they went through the trouble of finding time to spend together, it should be deeper than that. He adds that he wants to be himself all the time and can't just pretend. Ariri finds this hard to believe, as she herself is the master of pretense, arguing that everyone has a secret side. Tomoya tells her that Megumi doesn't, she is always the same with them, so he doesn't think he should put up a fake character for a date with her. This realization hits Ariri hard. She discovers that it truly is a real date after all, and gets upset, feeling he treated her as a trial run. Tomoya tries to explain that it's just a friendly date, but Ariri insists that it's still a date. Meanwhile, Utaha is going absolutely nuts behind them. Typing like a possessed maniac, she has finally figured out her storyline. Tomoya is confused by Utaha's behavior, while Ariri dismisses it as normal, explaining that such outbursts happen during the creative process. The darkness within a creator's heart emerges. Megumi continues to struggle with practicing her emotions. The next morning, Utaha submits the script she worked on all night. The others are impressed by how quickly she finished. Utaha then excuses herself to go take a nap, asking them to review her work. Tomoya reads the script to the others, and the storyline is pretty solid and interesting. It's about a boy who oddly resembles Tomoya, forced to move to a suburban town due to his parents' jobs. On his first day at school, he encounters a girl on top of a hill amidst falling flower petals. The next day, they meet again when he happens to be her classmate, and as their hearts draw closer, they begin dating, only for the girl to switch up and become strangely obsessed with her boyfriend. She eventually remembers their past life, where they were siblings with a tragic ending. They must fight an enemy and protect each other, ultimately achieving a happy ending. Megumi feels the storyline is kind of weird and inappropriate, but Tomoya and Ariri reassure her that it's not in the 2D world. After they finish, Utaha asks for a review, and Tomoya is really pleased and gives his review along with the others. Utaha then suggests they consider it the final draft, since no one has any issues with it. Ariri agrees and says she will prepare the character design soon, but Tomoya feels he needs to look through them again because something seems lacking. Ariri is frustrated that Tomoya has been working on the script for 3 whole days without providing any feedback. She tells him that by doing this, he is just retraining the artists and destroying their morale. Tomoya apologizes, acknowledging that while the script is exciting, something still doesn't satisfy him, so he cannot approve it. Ariri angrily tells him that if he feels that way, he should write it himself. However, Utaha scolds her for this comment, even though Ariri was trying to defend her, which Ariri immediately points out. Before Utaha takes her leave, she tells him not to keep her waiting like in the past. While Tomoya is reviewing the script, Megumi comes to remind him about their date the following day. She tells him that he doesn't need to worry if he's busy, but Tomoya assures her that it doesn't matter and he can go with her. The next day at the mall, Megumi and Tomoya find themselves waiting in a super long line for the mall to open. Megumi is excited and chatters happily, while Tomoya remains quiet as he doesn't handle crowds well unless they involve fellow otakus. Noticing his silence, Megumi asks if he's okay. He opens up to her about his discomfort, and as they talk, the mall opens and they are pushed forward by the crowd. Once inside, Tomoya and Megumi find a place to rest. Tomoya apologizes for making her take a break after they waited all morning to get in. He expresses his frustration about the chaos and points out that the staff didn't do much to control it. His annoyance is directed at the normals, who broke in line and rushed ahead. Megumi suggests that they could have waited a month after the mall's opening to avoid the chaos, but Tomoya responds that the same issues would likely occur anyway. He believes the problem lies in people's mentality. He then shares with her a story about the longest line he has experienced at Comiket. Suddenly, it clicks for him. He just needs to treat this mall like Comiket and see everyone as fellow otakus. Tomoya asks Megumi to point out the places she wants to visit on the map, and he devises a plan to visit each location with a strategy to avoid very crowded areas. They set off on their adventure, and thanks to their strategy, Megumi manages to get everything she wanted from the various stores, even amidst the crowd. At the last store, Megumi surprises Tomoya by getting him a new pair of glasses as a thank you for accompanying her. Tomoya is touched and expresses his gratitude, but he tells her that he won't be able to walk her home as there is somewhere he needs to go right away. Tomoya first officially met Utaha at her book signing. He was a big fan of her book and raved about it. Apparently, he did not understand it at first, but according to him, everything became clearer as he read it a couple of more times. Utaha did not pay him much attention, and when she finally did, she recognized him. They attend the same school. After Utaha confirms his name, Tomoya also tries to confirm hers. As he recognizes her too, she's from a higher class in school. Utaha immediately corrects Tomoya, pointing out that she'd rather be referred to as senpai by him, given the fact that she's in a higher class. Back to the present, Tomoya tries reaching out to Utaha by calling her, but she wouldn't pick up. It is clear she's mad at him. Sonoko is curious as to why Utaha wouldn't pick up her calls, suspecting the calls are from Tomoya. Her proof is that Utaha has avoided mentioning him all day, which could only mean he's been on her mind. She low-key feels like Sherlock Holmes or James Stokes, and her taunting tone doesn't help matters. Utaha denies this, of course, saying she has nothing to talk to Tomoya about. She stresses that she isn't interested in him. Following the events of the book signing, Utaha and Tomoya sat together discussing more. It wasn't much of a discussion, as Utaha was snoozing like she joined PJ Masks to fight crimes at night. Tomoya tries to keep her conscious, wondering if he's that boring. Utaha gets enough motivation to speak, considering how sleepy she is, and explains that she stayed up all night trying to complete the recent book volume she was on. This has Tomoya all hyped up, as he's pretty eager to know the plot. Utaha doesn't see the point of being worked up over a simple fictional plot. She doesn't seem to see it as a big deal, and Tomoya explains that it is all about perspective. She's the writer. It's a different experience than the readers at her mercy. Utaha is finally interested enough to sit up. She asks how Tomoya thinks the story will go, and what he'd love to happen. Utaha explains it is normal for writers to ask for feedback or requests from fans for reference purposes. Tomoya seizes the opportunity, blabbing about a whole lot. Utaha just watches him go on and on. Coming back to the present, Tomoya is still looking for a way to get to Utaha. He checks the restaurant where she most likely would be, but to his disappointment, she isn't there. Utaha, on the other hand, has just finished work for the day, exiting the workplace alongside Sonoko, who is really excited and ready to head back to her hotel. Unlike Sonoko, Utaha's energy is cold as she just stares at her phone. Sonoko suggests Utaha calls Tomoya if she can't stop thinking about him, but Utaha would rather not. She claims she isn't thinking about him or whatever issue they have, adding that she doesn't have anything to say even if she called him. Sonoko, suspecting it's something Utaha and Tomoya have to talk about in person, suggests Utaha stop acting tough and go for it. She adds that this is why Utaha is still single. Burn. Utaha doesn't have the opportunity to say anything as it immediately starts raining, and Sonoko hurries to go buy an umbrella. She stares blankly into the sky, saying to herself the fact that she doesn't care about Tomoya, but even so, it's more like a forced affirmation. We're basically time traveling. Back to the past. When Utaha and Tomoya's relationship had grown stronger, Utaha came up with something that Tomoya strongly disagreed with. She had just completed the last volume of her book and wanted Tomoya to read it first. Tomoya, despite always being eager for the book's release, doesn't want to read something as special as the final volume before everyone else. Utaha's objective was to know what Tomoya thinks of the ending and if it suits his desires, as she may need to change some things if he doesn't like it. Tomoya asks her to be more confident in her work, but this isn't about confidence. She wants to meet his expectations and know what he thinks. Tomoya explains that he doesn't want to read an ending based on his own hopes and agenda. He wants to know what direction she decided to go with the plot. Utaha still insists he reads it, asking for the last time, but Tomoya simply can't. Utaha is left disappointed. Recalling this incident, Tomoya sits, wondering if Utaha will ever forgive him for that. It's been 6 months. What? She's really gonna behave like he gave her Avengers Endgame spoilers? Tomoya calls it a day, but as he's about to get on a train, he has an idea of where Utaha might be. Retracing his steps, Tomoya heads away to the place, missing the last train. It is the same place Utaha bid him farewell following the incident when he refused to read her book, a hotel. Their friendship had grown apart since then. Utaha stares blankly outside her apartment. Just then, her eyes lit up as she sees Tomoya at the doorstep. He's all soaked in rain, looking like one of those scenes where the protagonist stands outside a dojo, begging the kung fu master to teach him. He's allowed inside and given space to shower. Sonoko wonders what Utaha plans on doing. Sending him back after his cozy shower? Sure looks like something she'd do, but Utaha claims she can't do something that cold, considering the last train has already left. That being said, Sonoko leaves Utaha, revealing that she has made a last-minute change for a twin room at the reception. Hence, Utaha and Tomoya would be sharing the room. Utaha is this close to having an anxiety attack. After his bath, Tomoya is chilling in the apartment. He soon starts to grasp the situation he's in and tries to hurriedly pack up and hit the road, but just then, Utaha comes in. She had been taking a shower and apologizes to Tomoya for the wait. Tomoya is speechless for a bit, nervously thanks her for letting him use the shower, and then proceeds to leave. Just before he exits the room, Utaha calls him back. When they're finally seated to talk, Utaha asks why he came to the city. Tomoya explains that he couldn't reach her phone, so he called her home, and her mom readily snitched on her, telling him her location. Tomoya points out that Utaha's mom should be a bit more cautious, considering her daughter is still just a high school kid. Utaha explains that she's dependable, considering she has never caused problems, has good grades, and hasn't ever talked back to her parents. She adds that her mother would freak out seeing the scenario she's in. Tomoya is just really nervous. He asks if Utaha is spending the night at the hotel to gather material for her next book, and Utaha affirms, mentioning a bunch of other things she has to do. She switches the topic, focusing on the fact that Tomoya can all the way to see her, determined so much that he missed his train. She calls him an idiot for that, and Tomoya doesn't think she's far from the truth on that. Utaha leans on Tomoya, and he gets really anxious. He finally breaks the awkwardness by asking her to help him become a good writer. Utaha starts by asking him to point out the flaws in their script. Tomoya goes about the story of how his outing with Megumi went, which isn't quite clear to Utaha at first. Tomoya looks back on the outing and says he genuinely had fun, especially since Megumi handled all their little mishaps like a champ. She even thanked him for the day, saying she had fun too. And when he ditched her halfway to chase after Utaha, no drama. Megumi just smiled and let him go. To Tomoya, that proves Megumi's a genuinely nice person. But in Utaha's story, he feels Megumi never really gets the happiness she deserves. After showering Utaha's original storyline with way too many compliments, classic Tomoya, he makes his big point. Megumi's character is trapped in her past, but players won't want to see her just throw away all the good moments she's created in her present life. That hits Utaha hard. She snaps back, demanding to know what's so wrong about clinging to the past. Tomoya eases up, saying there's nothing wrong with it, but he believes players should at least have the choice. He's passionate about how much he cares about the story playing out properly. He mentions that he trusts Utaha has the talent to turn the story into something truly amazing. The issue of letting go of past memories is particularly significant for Utaha, given her history with Tomoya. In a sober tone, she asks him if they should leave the past behind, suggesting that dwelling on it is a waste of time. However, Tomoya disagrees. He believes the past is still a vital part of their story. Tomoya and Utaha work on the script. Well, it's more of Utaha as she goes all out writing like she has been possessed by a demon. She rants like a drunk about how she spites the story's heroine for taking away her man, Tomoya. She's really emotional about this, asking if it is wrong for an author to fall in love with her fan. All the while, Tomoya is just confused. It is morning and Utaha is already up and prepared to head out. She tells Tomoya he's allowed to hang around a bit more if he wants. She admits she had a good time and welcomes Tomoya to being a creator, adding that she believes they'll achieve great things together as he has the passion to draw out the determination in her. So, she wants them to try their best. Tomoya is at Ariri's house as she had requested him to come over. After he arrives, he asks why she called and Ariri replies that she needs his help. She's running out of time, and according to her, this is owing to the fact that she has been occupied with the excessive work Tomoya has been putting on her. She had a late start. Tomoya is ready to take responsibility, asking what he can do for her. Ariri mentions that she needs him to help her out in making the plot. Tomoya points out that he's an amateur in her major, but Ariri is willing to make do with that. She promises to work on the character design for their game when she's done with the manuscript. Tomoya finally gives in. The reference for their manuscript is a story he already knows well, so he happily chats about it. Ariri points out that she first discovered it from his blog, which only makes him more excited. He wonders if they'll continue the heartwarming tale where the show left off, but Ariri quickly shoots that down. She wants a reimagined, more grown-up version. Tomoya nearly flips. This is a sacred series to him. Still, even though it clashes with his standards, he has no choice but to play along. What follows is their hilariously awkward brainstorming session, full of cringeworthy ideas and Tomoya constantly breaking character. By the end, Ariri has managed to scrape together enough material, but the two of them are completely exhausted. At school, Tomoya follows Megumi about like her shadow, lecturing her on the way of the heroine. As usual, she sounds really bland and clueless. Amidst their talk, Tomoya points out Megumi's change of hairstyle, saying that she can't just alter important things that define the character. Megumi doesn't grasp the gravity of the situation. She mentions that she just felt like changing her hairstyle, further asking if Tomoya likes it. To Tomoya, this could destroy the idea of the character, but to Megumi, it's not that deep. She mentions that some characters do it in most manga and get noticed. You mean like how Saitama started off with hair and then went bald later? Tomoya gives a reality check. No one but him is looking at her. He's losing it. Bro is really into shaping her to be the perfect heroine. Ariri is having a conversation with a bunch of kids who give off the type of energy people who are talking to you because you're rich give off. They mention the fact that her father's house is in England and rave about it. Just then, Ariri's attention shifts to Megumi and Tomoya, who is still nagging Megumi. He continues his lecture like a classic otaku who's on a debate on why anime is peak, while Ariri watches with subtle envy as he talks to Megumi. Just then, another girl calls Tomoya, just as she notices him there. She hurries to Tomoya, clearly she knows him, and from the way she happily greets him, they haven't seen each other in a while. Ariri, Megumi, and Utaha, who's just stepping out, just watch. The girl, Izumi, was Tomoya and Ariri's junior, and according to Ariri, she moved out before middle school. Ariri refers to her as the girl who's always following Tomoya around. Even now, Ariri can't hide her jealousy. As they catch up, Izumi hands Tomoya a pass to come see her doujin content. Tomoya is surprised that Izumi is now into doujin works, and she mentions she is just a beginner. She's really passionate about it, as she flares up when Megumi refers to the content casually. Just like Tomoya would. She wasn't really into anime or games until she met Tomoya and he introduced her to them. He gave her the lit rap game she's so passionate about, and Izumi claims that without that, she wouldn't have the happy life of anime and games that she has now. The fact that he gave her the lit rap game annoys Ariri, who tries to cover up her feelings when Utaha notices. At the end of the day, Izumi, still high-spirited, says goodbye and parts ways with them. Before she leaves, she asks Tomoya to come visit, adding that her brother would be happy to see him. Tomoya's reaction hints that he has a history with Izumi's brother. Even as he heads home, what Izumi said lives rent-free in his head. Tomoya turns to notice Ariri behind him. She obviously looks pissed, so he starts giving excuses, pointing out that an old friend visited, so it's only natural that they discussed. Ariri claims she isn't made, but soon starts venting. She confronts Tomoya about giving the lit rap game to Izumi. As they discuss, some dude with main character syndrome tries to make an entrance with the famous "long time no see" catchphrase. Tomoya and Ariri completely ignore him, so he tries again. He gets the same outcome and can't take it anymore. He asks Tomoya and Ariri not to ignore him, as he has been waiting at that spot for them for quite a while. Tomoya finally asks Lori what he wants. Lori is Izumi's brother, by the way. He mentions that he has come to say hello, but Tomoya doesn't see the point, stating that he could have remained where he was. Tomoya asks why Lori has chosen to show up, when clearly he cut ties with him. Lori reminds Tomoya of the fact that they were friends, both having the objective to rise together through the otaku world. Tomoya's tone isn't friendly, and here's why. Tomoya and Lori were really good friends, but there was evil in Lori. Kidding. Tomoya became an otaku because he genuinely loved the culture, the stories, the games, the joy of sharing what he adored with others. Lori, on the other hand, had a different goal. For him, it wasn't about passion, it was about climbing the ladder. He wanted to be close to big names and popular creators, not because he loved the craft, but because he wanted the status that came with it. When Lori tries to defend himself, saying his aim has always been to rise above the ranks, Tomoya pushes back. If that's what Lori wants, fine, but he should do it on his own merit, not by leeching off other creators. Tomoya insists that the path Lori is taking is wrong. The argument drags on until Lori drops a bombshell. He's joined the circle of Kusaka Akane, a superstar creator who's been in the spotlight for years. It's a huge deal, and Lori can't hide his pride. Ironically, the very underhanded methods Tomoya criticized are what got him this far. Lori then turns to Ariri, smugly offering her his business card. Ariri refuses without hesitation, but Lori brushes it off, saying his circle is interested in her talent. That's when he reveals the kicker. He knows Ariri's secret identity, and even the game Tomoya has been working on. Tomoya is stunned speechless, but Lori isn't done. He accuses Tomoya of chasing status too, even if Tomoya denies it. To Lori, it doesn't matter. He declares that both their circles share the same goal, and this will be a contest. He even points out that Ariri's skills would be more valued in his group, dangling the offer like bait. No kidding, there's actually evil in Lori. Back when they were young, Ariri gave Tomoya the lit rap game as a gift. Those were pretty happy times, and even now, Ariri still remembers. As the memories flood her head, she remains gloomy. The summer Comiket is around the corner, and Ariri and Tomoya are working like Gru's minions on caffeine. Their circles book has to be done before the event, and every second counts. D-Day is the next day, by the way, so the deadline pressure for the completion of her circles book is massive. Considering they should be working on their video game, Megumi is confused, thinking the scenes from Ariri's book are meant for her. Tomoya clarifies this, and Ariri apologizes to her, saying this is because she's behind schedule. Megumi still wonders why they're still in the printing phase if the summer Comiket is the next day, but Ariri is at ease, at least a little, explaining that the event runs for 3 days. Her circle will be going on the 3rd, and she feels they still have time. Unlike her, Tomoya is stressed out and doesn't think everything is cool. He mentions a bunch of issues they'll have to face considering when they're joining the event. Given that he helped her with her storyboards, Tomoya wonders why Ariri is still behind schedule. Ariri remains unfazed, or farming. The summer Comiket is cool and all, but it's nothing compared to the winter Comiket, which Tomoya plans on making a grand entrance with his legendary game. That's if they succeed. Tomoya gloats and romanticizes the awesomeness of it, typical otaku behavior. Megumi is curious if Ariri will be attending the Comiket, and she mentions that she won't be there. Her parents will man her table instead. Ariri asks if Megumi is planning on going, adding that a mere civilian like her would regret waltzing into a place teeming with otakus, their largest gathering for that matter. Megumi mentions she got an invitation from Izumi, and she considers going there as preparation for the winter Comiket. She can't wait to see Izumi Izumi's book, believing she'd ace it. Tomoya feels the same. Considering Izumi's love for lit rap, the book should be awesome, although Megumi would rather the book weren't as wild as Ariri's. It isn't, of course. Since Izumi raved about the third part of the lit rap game, Megumi got interested and curious and decided to check it out. She's playing the first part out of the 3 parts of the game, making do with what is available. Tomoya watches her play, while Ariri is still absorbed in her work. He's excited that Megumi is growing up as an otaku pretty fast. It's giving the same happiness you get after successfully introducing someone to anime. Megumi wants to pass the time while Tomoya and Ariri work. However, Ariri's attachment to lit rap doesn't allow her to focus on her work as she keeps getting distracted. She simply can't help but freak out when she realizes Megumi is playing the game using her favorite character, although she tries to cover it up. The game progresses to a somewhat lovely moment, and while Megumi tries to figure out what to do, Ariri, being really sentimental about that moment, gets all emotional. It's probably not that deep, but whatever. Later on, Ariri continues working on her book. Tomoya compliments the consistent quality of her work, something Marvel has been finding hard to do lately. Ariri says it'd be an insult to her readers if she did shabby work just because of the deadline pressure. Tomoya points out that Ariri could make a living from her works if she did them professionally, and Ariri explains that while she has had many agents show interest in her, she hasn't had the opportunity to speak to any of them in person, as she doesn't attend the events herself. Just then, Tomoya remembers the offer Lori gave Ariri and is curious about what she thinks of it. Ariri mentions it's a tempting offer, adding that there's a high chance she will become successful if she takes the offer. Tomoya wonders if Ariri will continue to draw just as a hobby or if she'd pursue it on a professional level. Tomoya isn't done with whatever noble guy speech he was cooking up when Ariri interrupts with an exclamation of joy and relief as she has just completed her work. She hastily heads over to play the lit rap game. It must have been torture having to watch Megumi play, knowing she couldn't join in until she was done with her work. Ariri navigates the game like she played it yesterday, even though it has been 8 years since she tried it out. Her muscle memory for the game is so strong that it would make Baki characters seem lanky. For a brief moment, she wonders why she stopped playing. Ariri asks Tomoya if he remembers the game, and he affirms, adding that it was hers. Back in the day, she lent the game to Tomoya, and bro didn't return it. He just says he wasn't able to. After a second of quietness, Ariri reveals her decision to be in Tomoya's circle. She promises not to attend any events or take up any offer as a guest artist until after the winter Comiket. Tomoya is really surprised and yet happy. Ariri adds that even if she was going to ditch them, it wouldn't be for Lori as he's only in it for his selfish reasons. Tomoya feels she's being a little bit too rude considering Lori is an old classmate of theirs. Ariri teases Tomoya for standing up for Lori, and unlike what she has done in a while, she bursts out into laughter. Just then, Megumi returns after preparing some food. She notices and points out that Tomoya and Ariri are being quite cozy with each other. In response, Ariri gives the perfect response, pointing out the irony of Megumi's comment, since she literally just finished cooking at a dude's house. It's the summer Comiket event day, and Tomoya, alongside Megumi, find their way through the crowd. Tomoya is all hyped, trying to carry Megumi along. They finally make it to Izumi, who's just about setting up her table. Izumi is pretty excited to see Tomoya, and of course Megumi. Of course, they assist her with setting up her table. When everything is done, Izumi expresses her gratitude for their help. Megumi is confused, wondering why their setup is quite small compared to another group who seem to be setting up loads of items. This is all new to her, so Tomoya explains. Those guys over there are big shots having large sales. In comparison, Izumi would be lucky to make just a couple of sales. Izumi is fine with this, as she explains that there's more to the event than just moving a lot of units. She goes ahead to say some stuff about hobbies and otakus coming together in harmony, and it's basically giving the power of friendship, and Megumi is having it. She looks politely disgusted by the concept. Like, okay, you're coming to sell your books, but you don't mind not selling your books? As they discuss, Tomoya goes through a copy of Izumi's book, and he seems invested. With every panel he reads, bro just gets more and more into it. Odd, Tomoya confirms how long Izumi has been doing this for, and she replies she's only been in for a year. Tomoya is stunned by what she has achieved, considering she's basically still a newbie. He's serious when he asks if Izumi wouldn't mind if the copies got sold. Excitedly leaving the premises, Tomoya works on a poster for Izumi's book. On the other hand, Megumi tries out the book and is also amazed. While Izumi doesn't really understand what's going on, she wonders where Tomoya went. However, Megumi is certain he's out to help Izumi. Meanwhile, that sneaky dude Lori is present. He remains undetected, watching Tomoya. Tomoya finally returns with the poster. He gets right to it, setting up the poster and loudly advertising the book. Izumi freaks out. The poster is pretty massive. Tomoya feels Izumi didn't really mean it when she said she doesn't really care if her book sells out. She low-key wants people to read it. That's why she made it in the first place. Izumi is just worried about the page Tomoya chose for the poster, as she feels embarrassed since it isn't finished. She explains that she had to do a last-minute adjustment, but time wasn't on her side. However, Tomoya is bent on using that page or nothing. Not too long after, a person shows interest. He's invested in the book and ends up buying it to Izumi's surprise. The numbers keep increasing, and the books get tickets sold out. Lori, or a farming, although no one notices him, had plans for Izumi's book. Plans that Tomoya has now ruined by helping Izumi sell out her copies. Meanwhile, Ariri sneaked in under disguise and bought the book. Immediately, her mission is complete. She takes her leave but waits a brief moment just to watch Tomoya's moment of happiness, having helped Izumi sell out her copies. She doesn't seem to be happy. Tomoya is able to catch up with Ariri just before she leaves the premises completely. He saw through her disguise earlier. Ariri doesn't exactly seem cool, and Tomoya feels she's embarrassed since she sneaked into the event without telling anybody. But he soon notices she's mad about something, although she's reluctant to spill it. Ariri finally speaks up, pointing out the way Tomoya raved about Izumi's book and the fact that he never reacted that way to hers. He hasn't gone all out to sell for her, and this upsets her. It might seem like petty jealousy, but she's genuinely hurt. Tomoya tries to explain, but all Ariri wants to know is if he thinks her books are better than Izumi's. Tomoya is in a tight spot. He can't really answer that, and Ariri runs off in tears. The iconic moment repeats itself, but this time, it's Ariri's hat falling off. Tomoya just stands there, while Megumi witnesses this from a distance. Tomoya remembers when they were younger and he had a fight with Ariri. She had also run away in tears. He wakes up to a familiar voice and is startled to find Utaha in his bed. He asks her why she is there, and she replies that she had zero screen time in the previous episode, but Tomoya has no idea what she is talking about. Utaha starts approaching him as Megumi casually walks into the room with drinks like it's a normal situation. They soon settle down for a quick meeting. Megumi had actually invited Utaha over. Utaha questions why Megumi is entering Tomoya's house so casually, and Megumi retorts asking why Utaha rushed over within 15 minutes of hearing that Tomoya is in trouble. Not ready to answer, Utaha turns to Tomoya and asks what the problem is. She wants to understand what happened between him and Ariri so they can fix it. Tomoya insists that it's a matter between him and Ariri, and he doesn't want to drag them into it. Utaha uses him as an example to explain what she calls wimpy protagonists to Megumi. She points out that when faced with the slightest problem, he hesitates and worries unnecessarily, annoying those around him by involving them. She advises Megumi that if she wants to become a main heroine, she will have to deal with his kind in the future, so she should observe his behavior closely. Megumi comments that it's going to be a hassle. Tomoya interrupts, saying that he's genuinely troubled by the situation. Later that night, Tomoya finishes narrating what happened. Utaha imagines the scenario to be worse than it actually was. She calls his actions immature, and Tomoya assumes she is referring to Ariri's behavior. But Utaha clarifies that she is pointing out Tomoya's unnecessary praise of someone else's book in front of Ariri. She says that he should have dodged the question and kept his true feelings to himself. Tomoya counters that he can't do that. He can't pretend that something is less than great when he actually thinks it is great. He adds that he would sooner quit being an otaku than claim that Izumi's or Utaha's novels are boring. Utaha is flustered by the indirect compliment, but quickly smacks herself back to seriousness. She insists that Tomoya's words to Ariri were a fatal blow and might have caused a dent in Ariri's heart, potentially leaving her unable to draw. She explains that Ariri likely felt as though Tomoya was stolen from her, along with her dignity as a creator. Utaha says that Ariri is attached to Tomoya and that she is the type of heroine who would confess her love for the protagonist after he fails to win over his preferred girl. This suddenly annoys her, while Megumi remains unbothered. Nesta getting back on track, Utaha suggests that Tomoya should use every advantage of their childhood friendship to win Ariri back. Megumi finally chips in by suggesting a scenario. The next morning at Ariri's house, she is in bed feeling depressed when her mom knocks on her door to inform her that she and her dad will be leaving for Comiket. Her mom tries to remind Ariri about the party they are hosting, but Ariri interrupts, saying she understands and wouldn't dream of embarrassing her father. Meanwhile, at Tomoya's house, Utaha is being a weirdo while Megumi sees Tomoya off as if they were a married couple. He is going to Comiket and is unsure if Ariri will be there, but he wants to check. Megumi wishes him luck and he thanks her for the support before heading out. Sublier at Comiket. Iori is standing around when Tomoya approaches him. Iori pretends to be surprised to see Tomoya, but Tomoya informs him that he has noticed Iori watching him the whole time. Moment of shame for Iori, but he brushes it off and asks what Tomoya wants. Tomoya tells Iori he wants his help to win Ariri back. Iori is shocked by Tomoya's audacity, especially since he is also trying to win Ariri over, but he agrees to help and they go searching for Ariri. On the other hand, Ariri is reluctantly getting ready for the party. She notices fireworks outside and goes to watch them. The fireworks remind her of the game she used to play with Tomoya when they were younger. Just as she reminisces about that scene, she hears Tomoya call her name. Bro is hanging from a tree like some royal Tarzan, inviting Ariri to run away with him for a while. Although Ariri finds it embarrassing, Tomoya insists he won't back down until he has patched things up with her. Eventually, she takes his shaky hand and they disappear into the night together. Utaha and Megumi had planned this, knowing it would trigger Ariri's memories and evoke feelings of nostalgia, encouraging her to make up with Tomoya. Utaha understands that Ariri is a nerdy girl waiting for her otaku prince to sweep her off her feet, and she believes the plan will work. Tomoya takes Ariri to their their middle school. As he begins to speak, Ariri interrupts him, asking if he's trying to make up with her. She points out that Lid Rap was the first game she introduced him to, and then he went on to convert another girl to the same game. To her, this feels like a betrayal. She accuses him of no longer needing her, and suggests he should bring Izumi into his circle instead and leave her alone. She tries to leave. Tomoya silently apologizes to Utaha and Megumi for what he is about to do. He tells Ariri that there's something he has never been able to say to her. Ariri panics. For a second, she thinks he's about to confess, but the confession is not what she assumed at all. Tomoya confesses that he has been incredibly angry with her. He reminds her of a time in middle school when everyone made fun of him for being an otaku. Ariri had abandoned him to maintain her social status, and Tomoya says he can't forgive her for that. Ariri questions whether he's still holding a grudge over such a little thing, but to Tomoya, it was not little at all. She tries to justify her actions by saying she had no other option. Classic defense. But Tomoya counters that she chose to make new friends instead of being able to talk to him about anime. He expresses how much she meant to him back then, and that he lost all his other friends while trying to protect what they had, only for Ariri to turn her back on him. Tomoya explains that it took him years to start talking to people normally again, but he will never forget how badly Ariri treated him. Ariri blames him for getting carried away back then and refuses to apologize. She insists that he also owes her an apology for choosing Izumi's book over hers when she is more popular, more skilled, and has known him longer. At this point, Tomoya is like, to hell with all these, and boldly states that Izumi's book is more exciting. He continues, saying that Ariri can't measure up to Izumi and that the book she submitted at the Comiket sucked. Ariri insists that she worked hard on it. Tomoya acknowledges that she shows speed, skill, and consistency, but says it's time for her to elevate her work. Ariri doesn't know how to go about that, but Tomoya can't tell her what to do. It's her art, and she needs to figure it out herself. He then says she doesn't have to take it to the next level if she doesn't want to, and accuses her of not caring about being his number one. Ariri reflects on all her hard work and how she felt betrayed by Tomoya. Then she resolves to become his number one again. The next moment, Tomoya is carrying her back home. For someone who just got emotionally wrecked, she sure recovers fast when it means getting carried. Tomoya knows she lied about twisting her ankle, but he carries her anyway. He's uncertain whether they have truly made up yet. The following day at Tomoya's house, Ariri completes their circle banner illustration. The others are impressed by it, but Megumi is concerned that she appears not to be wearing anything. Utaha comments that a real heroine strips when told to and breathes heavily when instructed to do so. Tomoya has to remind them that this is an all-ages game. Now it's time for Tomoya to add the finishing touch. He writes the name of their circle, Blessing Software. Everyone thinks it's cool until Utaha interprets it to mean Megumi Software. Now someone is offended while the other is shocked. Congratulations, Tomoya. You've officially named your circle after your crush. Smooth. Days later, Tomoya and his friends are discussing more details for the game. Tomoya wants to include some risque scenes, but Utaha opposes the idea, arguing that it would make the game feel like a harem show. Ariri, on the other hand, supports Tomoya's suggestion. She insists that since it's a dating sim, they need to include some excitement with cute girls to keep players engaged, and adds that not including such scenes would be a waste of her talent. Utaha points out that Ariri seems increasingly motivated since Comiket ended and asks what changed. Ariri avoids the question, leading to a bickering between the two. Tomoya tries to steer the conversation back on track by asking Megumi, as the heroine, to give a cute shriek. What she does sounds like a baby goat learning to bleat. Even Tomoya can't stand it. The meeting eventually wraps up. Noticing that it's past midnight, Tomoya decides to take a bath. As he opens the bathroom door, he's met with an unexpected sight, a girl casually nude in his bathroom. She nonchalantly asks if he wants the bath and says she will leave him to it. Then she heads to the fridge to drink milk straight from the carton. From where does she get this much audacity? Well, she is his cousin, Machiru. Doesn't still permit it, yes, but y'all know that one cousin that doesn't understand boundaries. Later, Machiru puts on some clothes, while Tomoya still feels awkward in his own home. She apologizes for not letting him know she was coming over, but Tomoya insists that she shouldn't be the one apologizing and says she should have shrieked and called him a pervert for looking at her. This dude thinks he's in a dating sim. Machiru informs him that she plans to stay over for a while. As she looks around his room, she comments on how he still hasn't grown out of video games. When Tomoya asks why she's staying, she explains that she had a fight with her dad and decided to run away. She reminds Tomoya of the band she formed when she started high school, an all-girls one. Tomoya is surprised that she hasn't quit it, especially since she had given up on sports and clubs after just 6 months, despite doing well in them. Machiru claims she must be a genius for doing well in so many things. Tomoya notes that they're very different. She easily gets bored with things while he sticks to one thing. Machiru continues telling Tomoya about the fight. Her band got a lot of buzz at their last school festival, and a scout from a music venue approached them. When she asked her dad for some money to support this opportunity, he refused. That's why she'll be crashing at Tomoya's for a while. Tomoya asks about what his parents said. Machiru responds that they agreed she could stay until both she and her father cool down. Machiru keeps being weird, and it's making Tomoya uncomfortable, especially given her outfit. Machiru casually says that it's fine since he's the only one who gets to to see her like this. Tomoya still feels uncomfortable and starts praying, but the girl won't let him be. She keeps teasing him and playfully puts him in a triangle choke while bro fights for his life. The next day at school, Megumi notices Tomoya stretching his neck and asks about it. He explains that he twisted it before bed. Their conversation is interrupted when someone places their hand on Megumi's shoulder. Tomoya grows tired of writing and suddenly feels another pair of hands on his, accompanied by weird but soft words of encouragement. He's surprised to see Utaha sitting in Megumi's seat and realizes they have switched places. Utaha offers to help him with the work, but Tomoya declines, stating that she has already spent considerable time working on the scenarios, which got her personal novel pushed back, so he doesn't want to trouble her anymore. He's still tired though and decides to take a quick nap, but God forbid a boy take a quick nap while Utaha and Ariri are around. As they return to work, Tomoya and Ariri discuss the scripting, while Utaha throws snide comments at Ariri, who quickly fires back each time. During lunch, the group discusses the final aspect of the project they need to address: music. Since music sets the mood for everything, they need to find someone talented to help. Tomoya suddenly receives a text and crouches down to read it secretly. It's from Machiru, asking when he'll be home and if they can order pizza for dinner. He's startled to see Megumi reading it too, but she assures him that she won't tell anyone. Just then, Ariri snatches the phone and is clearly not pleased. Soon, Tomoya finds himself tied up and being questioned by the girls. He explains his situation, starting from the moment he and Machiru were born on the same day in the same place. Utaha assumes they must have spent a lot of time together, even bathing together as children. She says, Machiru reigns supreme above all other cheap knockoff childhood friends. That's not good for poor Ariri. That night, Tomoya returns home to find Machiru asleep in his bed. He wakes her up but doesn't get a chance to complain about the mess before Machiru declares that she had some of her belongings sent over. It's at this moment that Tomoya notices the chaos she has caused in his room. His entire fanboy collection is gone. Machiru nonchalantly defends her actions by saying his room was too cluttered for her to fit all her stuff. Tomoya scampers out to retrieve his belongings from the trash and frantically apologizes to the figures and other merchandise. Machiru apologizes, saying she had no idea they meant so much to him. Tomoya angrily tells her to return to her house, but Machiru insists it's not that serious. She suggests that it's time for him to leave behind his otaku things and promises to introduce him to some girls. This second part catches Tomoya's attention, but he believes that no normal girl would ever want to date him. Machiru insists that they would if he acted normal, but Tomoya brushes it off, claiming she sees him positively because they're related. Machiru then mentions that the grades at her school are pretty poor, so many girls would be interested in him just by the mention of his own school. Tomoya starts getting convinced, but still refuses to give up his otaku lifestyle. He questions why Machiru doesn't have a boyfriend herself, and she replies that she wants to focus on her band. Tomoya explains that he has a big dream he's focused on too, so he can't abandon his otaku life until he achieves it. When Machiru asks what his dream is, he proudly tells her, but she retorts that he can't make a living just from his hobbies, even going as far as asking if his parents haven't discussed it with him as he's already close to his final year. This frustrates Tomoya, who then goes to arrange his stuff. Once he's done, Machiru instructs him to take his bath, which annoys him since he was already about to go do that. Before he leaves, he tells her he has no issue with her playing her guitar, but advises her not to plug it into the amp to avoid disturbing the neighbors. Machiru assures him she knows that. In the bathroom, Tomoya has a meeting with himself and decides he needs to find a way to get Machiru out of his house. Machiru, being as stubborn as she is, plugs her guitar into the amp anyway. Tomoya angrily rushes out of the bathroom with just a towel wrapped around his waist. He halts at the door though, as the music catches his attention. He starts to imagine scenes from his dating sim that perfectly match the song. By the time Machiru finishes playing, Tomoya is standing in front of her, lost in a daze. She tries to excuse her stubbornness, but eventually gives up and just apologizes instead. However, Tomoya is no longer bothered by it. He invites her to join him in creating the ultimate dating sim. Machiru is taken aback, and Tomoya's towel probably is too, as it immediately falls to the ground, destroying bro's dignity. Tomoya introduces Machiru to the group, but they aren't very welcoming. Utaha questions Tomoya's decision to make the introduction. He explains that Machiru will be creating the song for their game and assures everyone they will understand his choice once they hear her work. However, Machiru suddenly grapples with Tomoya, choking him while clarifying that she never agreed to help with the song for his game. Meanwhile, Ariri feels increasingly anxious, overthinking everything till she's brain dead. Tomoya tries his best to convince Machiru to join them, but Machiru is resolute. She's like that one retired assassin who wants to be glazed before finally leaving retirement. Machiru says she has her hands full with her band stuff, and even so, Tomoya believes she can still pull through. Utaha advises Tomoya to let go, mentioning that it won't turn out well for both him and Machiru if he forces her to join in when she isn't interested. Ironic coming from her, as Tomoya can recall she behaved just like Machiru in the beginning. Utaha says they still have time, suggesting Tomoya find someone else, but Tomoya stresses that it has to be Machiru, just as it was for everyone. With each of their roles, Tomoya points out how special this is. However, Machiru isn't still interested. She isn't a fan of the whole otaku stuff. She tells Tomoya to grow up from all that and face reality, which is rich considering the type of person she is. This stirs Utaha up, and she confronts Machiru about her mentality of otakus. Machiru doesn't take them seriously, by the way. Utaha emphasizes the awesomeness of the otaku world, but slowly diverts to the fact that Tomoya upset her back then. She chokes the life out of him. Michiru says she just can't be friends with an otaku, but Tomoya doesn't buy that as they get along quite well. Michiru mentions that she doesn't really consider Tomoya a friend. He's just Tomo. She gloats that she has always been better than him in everything they did. She has always treated him as a lackey, but, however, Michiru adds that when push comes to shove, regardless of all these, Tomoya is really reliable. Tomoya doesn't see the point of bringing up the past, but Ariri is particularly interested. Michiru goes down memory lane, mentioning an incident where she and Tomoya were playing around. She ran ahead but broke her leg and was unable to move. Stuck there in the darkness, she was really scared until Tomoya found her. He had scratches over his body from searching for her, but Tomoya corrects that the injuries were merely a result of his wandering about. After finding her, he carried her home on his back. Recalling this pisses Machiru off as Tomoya had seen her in her weak state. Once again, Tomoya suffers another round of attacks. Joining the chaos is Ariri, who is hassling Tomoya, wondering how old he was when this happened. She just wants to know who was the first between her and Machiru. Utaha and Megumi just watch. Later that day, Machiru, as usual, evades Tomoya's personal space. She gets on her instrument and starts playing around with it. Just then, Tomoya re-emphasizes that he really needs her song for his game. He still believes Michiru can handle it and still have time for her band. Tomoya isn't ready to give up as this is about his dream and his friends who are helping him out with it. Michiru mentions how important her band and friends are to her too, but adds that they're on the verge of breaking up because of her. She apologizes as she just doesn't have time to help them out. Tomoya suspects Michiru's father is yet to give the band his blessing, and Michiru mentions that her father said he'll approve only on one condition. Tomoya is relieved and curious as to what the condition is. He volunteers to help however he can. Michiru mentions her father just needs them to get a proper manager. After thinking about it for a while, Tomoya says he can help. He says he'll look around the entertainment and singing circles he knows, under the condition that she'll help them out with the song. Before he's done saying this, Machiru reveals that she needs him to be the manager. Tomoya is stunned, mentioning that he can't possibly be their manager, but Michiru replies that they can't let some stranger be their manager either. Tomoya points out that he is already busy with his circle, asking Michiru not to put more on his plate. However, Machiru sees this as an avenue for Tomoya to give up on his game-making dream. Tomoya stands his ground, mentioning that he's doing this for his dreams and his friends. But Machiru says Tomoya's friends don't seem to be into the dream. This gets to Tomoya's head. Michiru reveals that from her analysis, Tomoya's circle is whack. Unlike Tomoya, none of his friends has any passion for the game. They're just sticking around for whatever reason. According to Michiru, Michiru mentions that her band is unlike Tomoya's circle as they all set their eyes on achieving the same goal. Having said this, she once again pleads with Tomoya to help her dream come true. Her words certainly have an impact on Tomoya. At school, Tomoya notices Megumi's absence right after classes. Yoshihiko meets up with Tomoya, pitching the idea that they hang out, considering it's the weekend. Tomoya is just focused on knowing where Megumi is, and Yoshihiko says she left the classroom as soon as the day was over. Considering Megumi and Tomoya have been pretty close of late, Yoshihiko feels something is going on between them. He teases Tomoya for it, saying that when a good-looking girl starts moving around with a guy, there's bound to be theories. To Tomoya, this is a good thing, as it shows Megumi has tried her best to embody her heroine character. People are starting to notice her. Tomoya returns from school and immediately locks in to finish his share of work. There isn't time to spare. Meanwhile, Megumi is at Ariri's. They're doing an all-nighter, and Megumi seems to be working on something with the help of Ariri and Utaha, who is reaching out through texts. By morning, they're both dead asleep. A call wakes Megumi up. It is from Tomoya. It's still pretty early, and Tomoya apologizes for calling at such a time. They talk for a while, and Tomoya mentions he wasn't able to make any progress with his work as he had other things on his mind. Megumi understands and isn't pissed off or anything. She's confident Tomoya will eventually pull through. Tomoya finally lets out what's been on his mind, asking Megumi genuinely if their circle is whack. He asks if he's the only one interested in the game. Megumi doesn't answer this, but instead suggests they meet to eat. After they meet up, Megumi reveals the efforts she has been putting in. These aren't things she does reluctantly or forcefully, and it shows that she is genuinely interested in making the game work. Megumi mentions that she does not have any talents like the others, and Tomoya, which is why she's trying her best with the little she has to offer. She also doesn't feel that the others are doing this unwillingly, as they have been locked in and are also helping her out a lot. They helped her make a certain scene she was working on through the night. Having said this, she clicks on her system and plays the scene. At first, she cheers Tomoya up with the scene, getting his spirits up again. But as soon as this is done, the rest of the lines in the scene are pretty much about Tomoya's relationship with Michiru. Considering the fact that Tomoya was all worked up when he saw Megumi out with her cousin, leaves the idea that he suspected their relationship was similar to his and Michiru's. It reminded him of Machiru. Tomoya, who is pretty much busted, apologizes severely. Thereafter, Tomoya plays Megumi a recording of Michiru's song, which he took while she played, unknown to her. After listening for a while, Megumi affirms that the song is pretty great. She genuinely wonders if Michiru really doesn't want anything to do with otaku culture. Back at home, to Michiru's surprise, Tomoya agrees to be her band's manager. To prove this, he hands her a live performance gig. He already made other arrangements, including reaching out to the other members of the band to get them on board. Or farming, as he points out the fact that when an otaku locks in, you'd best sit back and let them cook. Michiru is really excited and grateful to Tomoya. After she takes her leave, Tomoya apologizes for some reason, with a grin on his face. It's the day of Michiru's band performance at a music show. Tomoya had agreed to be their manager. Michiru's bandmates, Tokino, Echika, and Renko, gather together with her. Tomoya reminds them that they are still unknown, so they must do their best to stand out and gain fans. He asks if they are already feeling nervous, but Machiru confidently assures him that they will earn recognition and support. They stack their hands together for a team chant, but before doing so, Tomoya reminds them that he has done all he can for them, and after they change into their costumes, there's no turning back. At the mention of costumes, Renko, Ichika, and Tokino exchange glances. Michiru says the team chant, and they all cheer. Meanwhile, Megumi and Utaha are also coming to watch the performance. They were with Ariri, but she had given up a moment ago after Utaha teased her to the verge of tears. Megumi wishes both girls would be more considerate. Utaha argues that they aren't the inconsiderate ones. She points out that Tomoya chose to be Machiru's manager, basically choosing the band over their circle, and he planned the show without consulting them either. She says Megumi knew about it and didn't stop him, which is inconsiderate too. Megumi insists that Tomoya has everything figured out and that Utaha should have some faith in him. Utaha responds that Megumi acts as if she's the only one who understands Tomoya. Then, she apologizes for saying that out loud and asks Megumi to forget it. Megumi says it's okay and walks away, mumbling to herself that Utaha is quite a hassle to be around. Hearing her, Utaha retorts that Ariri is more of a hassle. She warns Megumi that her life could become a living nightmare if she gets too close to Ariri. Megumi also asks Utaha to forget what she just said. They find Ariri in a cafe and drag her to the venue. Megumi continues to try to convince her to watch the performance, but Utaha claims it's a waste of time, stating that Ariri is being pathetic and disgraceful, like a defeated warrior fleeing the battlefield. Ariri had thought she was Tomoya's oldest friend, but Michiru's arrival changed that. Megumi realizes that this must have been what Utaha used to upset Ariri earlier, and she wishes they would stop attacking each other. She urges them to have faith in Tomoya, but the other girls feel they haven't seen enough from him to inspire that faith. Nevertheless, they head to the venue together. However, when they enter the dressing room, they are met with an unexpected sight. Machiru is straddling Tomoya and threatening to kill him. Why? Well, because she hates her costume. Her friends are not surprised by her reaction to the outfits, but what in the unseasoned chicken is she doing to her cousin? Tomoya says it's time for Michiru to learn the truth about her band. She looks at her bandmates, but they all avoid her gaze. Tomoya explains that the song she first heard her bandmates playing and the song she played after joining were all covers of anime songs. This means her bandmates are actually otakus, but they made her believe they were playing the latest trendy pop tracks. Even her original songs are starting to develop anime-like melodies. Megumi had noticed this while listening to it with Tomoya. Michiru glares at her bandmates. They apologize, explaining that they didn't know how to bring it up, since she gets cranky whenever they mention anime. Michiru replies that it's too late for apologies. Meanwhile, Megumi and the other girls in her group watch in amazement. Tomoya continues his confession, revealing that he made an agreement with the band members for Michiru to collaborate with his circle in exchange for managing their band. He sees it as a win-win situation. Michiru, however, does not see how this is a win for her, and Tomoya offers her the choice to remove the costume and leave. He reminds her, though, that her best friends are waiting for her. The girls apologize once more and express their desire to perform anime songs. Michiru insists that she is not an otaku, but Tomoya reassures her that she doesn't have to be one. She only needs to sing for them, although he believes she will eventually come to enjoy it. It's time for their performance. Michiru is nervous, but upon spotting Tomoya at the back of the room, she gains confidence and begins to play. Her friends join her, and soon the crowd starts cheering for them, while Tomoya watches like a proud father. Meanwhile, Megumi tries to convince Ariri and Utaha to join the audience. As the first song ends, the crowd erupts in excitement, boosting Michiru's confidence. She now prepares for the closing song, one that she wrote herself. As the song starts, Megumi joins the audience, leaving Ariri and Utaha acting nonchalant outside. The crowd loves the closing song, which further energizes the band. Once the song concludes, they thank their new fans. Back in the dressing room, Tomoya asks Michiru how it felt to play her first show. Michiru says that she loved it. She never imagined the audience would be so into it. Tomoya tells her that he made her dream come true, and now it's her turn to make his dream come true. Megumi thinks for a moment, as if she has a choice to make. Still uncertain, she decides to give Tomoya the benefit of the doubt and accepts his invitation to join his circle. On the way home, Megumi shares her happiness about Machiru joining them. However, Ariri, Ariri, feeling jealous, believes that their scenarios and artwork are good enough even without the music. Megumi is pleased to see that Ariri actually respects Utaha and is serious about making the game. As Megumi continues talking, Ariri stops her and calls her by her first name. She suggests that they have reached a level in their friendship where they shouldn't be so formal. Megumi recalls Utaha's warning, and the slight pause makes Ariri lose confidence. However, Megumi agrees to become proper friends and also starts calling her by her first name. A while later, Utaha finishes writing the game scenarios while listening to Michiru's song. The story concludes with the protagonists reuniting after a disaster. The circle is impressed, noting that there are no bugs, typos, or broken lines in the script. Tomoya thanks everyone for their contributions, but they realize that this was just one route. They need to get started on the next one. However, Utaha is too exhausted to begin right away. With only 2 months until winter Comiket, Tomoya knows that while his circle may face frustration, disagreements, and conflicts, they also share laughter, teamwork, and undeniable talent. He trusts his circle to achieve their dreams and deliver the ultimate dating sim.